Now, don't hate me for this, but my brother was given pre-sale access to the Oasis tickets for next summer's tour, and he was able to get 3 tickets, and we will be off to see them next summer at Murrayfield Stadium. This is the most amount of money that we've ever spent on going to see a band, and I appreciate that we've not spent as much money as some people owing to Ticketmaster's dynamic pricing issue, but I was really keen to get tickets for the Oasis reunion, largely for nostalgic reasons. When I was a teenager, I was unashamedly a massive Oasis fan. My bedroom walls were covered with posters and images of Oasis gigs, and I was lucky enough to go and see them a handful of times when I was a teenager. And I think some of those early gigs that I went to, particularly around the age of 16, 17, when I saw Oasis at Irvine Beach in Scotland, and then the following year at their legendary Loch Lomond gig just before they played Nebworth. These 2 gigs in particular made a huge impression on me, and I still look back incredibly fondly at that time. And what struck me about the Oasis reunion next summer is the fact that there hasn't been any advertising or marketing. The demand has been so great, given that there's been a 15-year hiatus while we waited for the band to get back together. And people have such strong, evocative memories of the band from their own childhood that they haven't needed to advertise the fact that they're getting back together. The video that they put together to announce these gigs was really interesting, and there was one line in it which struck me. Noel Gallagher is incredibly shrewd, and his line when he said,
"People will never ever forget the way that you made them feel,"
tells you everything you need to know about why the band are getting back together and why the demand for tickets is so high. When I was 15, 16 years old, all that I spent my money on was music and films. And particularly around the time of 1994 to 1995, whenever Oasis released a single, you knew that the B-side was going to be every bit as strong as the A-side. Most of the time we were already familiar with the A-side, but when songs like Wonderwall, Don't Look Back in Anger came out, we'd be introduced to new B-sides like Acquiesce, Talk Tonight, The Master Plan, songs that were later compiled and put together in one of the Oasis compilation albums. But if Noel Gallagher saved those songs for the 3rd album, I really think that the legacy of the band could have been even more powerful than it is now. For me, when I think about Oasis and I reflect on the impact that the band had on me when I was a teenager, I always think about the years between 1994 to 1997. And I do think probably that the release of Be Here Now in August 1997 was the point for me where I wouldn't say that I lost interest in the band because I still bought all of their remaining albums, but I certainly never had quite the same enthusiasm and passion for the band after that album came out. The first 2 albums, Definitely Maybe, released in 1994, and What's the Story, Morning Glory, 1995, for me, they are my childhood. That was the soundtrack to my teenage years. By the time Oasis released their 4th album, Standing on the Shoulder of Giants, I was 21 years old and I was at university. And I remember listening to this album, and whilst there were some really good songs, such as Gas Panic, some of the lyrics on that album, such as I Could See a Liar, Sitting by the Fire, and from Little James, Live for Your Toys, Even Though They Make Noise, it just seemed like the band had run out of ideas. Some of the tunes were still there, but what had made Oasis original and fresh had just seemed to vanish. Supersonic, the documentary that was directed by Matt Whitecross, which came out about the band in 2016, documents the period between the band's formation and their legendary gigs at Nebworth in 1996. And I think it's interesting that the documentary only charts that period. And I do still think it would have been an amazing statement if Oasis had just released those first 2 albums, played Nebworth and called it a day. I think the clamour for a reunion now would be even greater than it is. But the reason I wanted to make this video and talk about my childhood memories of Oasis is because I've obviously bought tickets to go see them next summer, and I'm excited about that, and it will be really nostalgic to go and see the band once more. But nostalgia is a very dangerous drug, and I know from experience that too much nostalgia can make you miserable. When we're nostalgic and we look back in the past, we look back with rose-tinted glasses. We only choose to remember the best bits. Otherwise, we wouldn't feel nostalgic about it. There was plenty of things that happened between 1994 to 1996, which were not good. I was a teenager, I was anxious, I was depressed at times, I had really bad acne. These things just get put to the side when we feel nostalgic about a certain time. We only focus on the good parts. And I think living in the past and feeling nostalgic and appreciating the joy that comes from that can be a really positive thing. But you don't want to live there. Music, unlike anything else, has the power to transport us back to a time and a place. And I, for one, are really looking forward to the Oasis gigs next summer. And I'm really looking forward to reminiscing about my formative teenage years. But that'll be for one night only. I'm not going to dwell nostalgically on the past because I think it's important to remember the present and look to the future. Thank you for watching.